All right, welcome back. I'm just excited for this one. We're doing the pioneers and the builders and the Jacksonville theme all over again. And for those who have watched the first 20 plus episodes, we call that PB and JAX. I got Jillian Johnson with me here today, and she's the founder of the Ladies Executive Golf Society, aka Legs, which is the best name in the world. I can't wait to unpack that. But Jillian, thanks so much for taking the time and being here. I'm very happy that you're spending time with us.
No, thank you, Randall. I absolutely love what you're doing. And I think Jacksonville needs this showcase of the innovators and movers and shakers. So I feel very lucky to be on this call and I love what you're doing.
Thank you so much. I know we said pioneers and builders in Jacksonville, and maybe we're making an exception today, little pioneers and builders in Utah. I know you spent most of your life here in Jacksonville, though, and you still have a very strong tie here. And the Legs, the Ladies Executive Golf Society was founded here and still has a big impact here. And I'm super pumped to talk about it because of kind of the journey and the story, and then kind of how it's grown since.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I guess
let's just talk about. Oh no, go ahead.
no, you'll have your first gypsy on the call because it moved around, but Jacksonville is where
Yeah,
legs started and very near and dear to my heart. I just can't sit
yeah, my
still for
first.
longer.
Yeah, we got our first wanderer on the show.
Yeah.
And yeah, let's talk about it. Best name in the world, by the way. I don't think I've shied away from that since you and I met. Talk to me about it. You were in corporate America for a while, and you just had this burning desire to kind of do more, and it was kind of a brainchild thought, and then you put it into practice. So how did this thing start? I'd love to just kind of get an origin story here.
Yeah. Okay, so I moved to Jacksonville a week before Irma hit, and I'm from Wyoming, so I didn't really know what the hurricane protocol was, and so I did have one friend and she said, "No, you gotta get out of here." So was in North Carolina just looking for jobs and I saw a caddy position open at TPC Sawgrass and I was a little ignorant back then, and I just thought, "Hey, I've always wanted to be a caddy." Maybe wanted to do it in high school, but we don't really have very nice courses in Wyoming. Figured bucket dream or bucket list. So ended up being the first female caddy at TBC Sawgrass, which was a great gig. Watching the players last week felt like I know that course like the back of my hand, and then I got into insurance and finance, and I had an amazing boss, amazing mentor, and he brought me down to South Florida to meet Rich Rogers, who started this thing called 6 Degrees. And it's kind of like BNI, but on the golf course. And my boss says, Rich Rogers does nothing but business on the golf course. You need to meet him. And I came back to Jacksonville, and I just felt like every woman I would meet, she says, I really want to get into golf. I really want to get into golf. And I just looked at what was out there and I'm like, well, you don't want to learn from your husband, boyfriend, or significant other because he might have issues. And there wasn't anything I saw that was fun, female friendly, really inclusive, and built around helping to support women in business and in life. Just giving them kind of the experience of golf through the women's lens where I think men, they have no problem playing 36 holes, talking shit, and women are kind of more timid, like they won't say I'm really good. Even good golfers won't say I'm a good golfer. And so we do a 9 hole scramble or a lesson, and we say we play 9 and drink wine. Sometimes we play 4 and drink more, but just meeting women where they're at. And so that was almost 7 years ago that, I don't know. I'm like, I hate an idea without execution. So I just said, I'm going to make a flyer and a sticker and we're just going to go for it. Yeah, started small. Our first event, I think we had 8 and then, got to 25 and then 75 and then just kind of beta tested it. Could this be replicable in other markets? And now we're at almost 20 chapters across the US, which is really cool to see. But yeah, about 2 years ago, kind of all things at once, where it was like a post-COVID existential crisis where I'm like, I'm quitting my job. I'm never dating again. I'm moving back to Wyoming and I'm doing legs full time. And So ended up meeting my husband, of course, on the golf course and in Arizona. And he said, well, why don't you move to Salt Lake? You can ski in the morning, golf in the afternoon. I am a skier, mountain biker, and so it was a quick, easy sell. So yeah, I it's hard because Jacksonville kind of has my heart. I love the community. It's our biggest, most successful chapter. The ladies that are running it, Jessica Bukowski, Caitlin Kennedy, Jill Young, Tiffany Farah, and Andrea Delancey, they're the team in Jacksonville who are just doing a phenomenal job.
Yeah, man, thanks for walking through that. I'm super interested in the timeline, and I want to walk through it with you. Sticking with the beginning, though, you had this idea like, hey, we're going to have women come out and we're going to basically happy hour ourselves on the golf course and network and have fun, and bring the game of golf to more and more people. But when you were doing that, I guess where my head goes is like, how confident were you that this was going to work out? What was your initial vision? Like, did you see this as like, hey, I'm going to quit my job at some point if this thing can really take off? And then you were talking about the fact that this is at 20 chapters. So did you ever really think that it had this level of growth potential?
No way. So I was doing really boring, insurance and finance, and my mentors, would say, you could, like, when you talk about insurance, your aura is just gray, but when you talk about legs, your face lights up. You could take this nationally. And I was like, no, no, no. I've got a 401k, I've got health insurance, I got this cushy salary. No, no way. But I think it just kind of like I'm a big go with your gut girl, Like when I moved to Jacksonville, it was because of a guy and ended up breaking off the engagement because my gut was just saying something's not right. And with legs, it was like full force, like it just kind of was a realization where I do like to work hard and I just felt like I was working hard for everybody else's dreams. And so I figured I'm like, okay, why not try working as hard as you do on your dream and let's just see what happens. Like worst case, you can always go back to insurance, but I really didn't want to. So yeah, I think it did just evolve. Even when I was working, my huge passion just was women's empowerment, just looking at the landscape and how far women have come, but also seeing that, I just felt that if we can get more female leaders and women decision makers, that the world will be a better place. And obviously, there's not a direct correlation between golf and success, but I know personally so many of my jobs I got on the golf course, met my husband on the golf course, brought in almost 500,000 in revenue on the golf course. So I just felt like women were missing out on this magic that happens on the golf course and these relationships that you can build. And so that is the long-term vision, is to see a world with more female leaders and women running companies. So that's a true vision and the passion. But did I foresee this being in, 20 locations? No way. No way. No
Yeah.
way.
I mean, look, I think it's awesome. I think the name is awesome. Like, how many iterations did you go through before you settled on legs?
Oh, so many bad ones. So like it was like, no. And then legs like came out. It was what the yards was previously, the pro Mike. I came to him with the idea with my friend Cassie Bruce, who's like really wanting to get into golf, and he was all for the idea. And so it was kind of like, okay, now we need a name for it. So we were shooting out terrible names, and then Legs came out, Ladies Executive Golf Society, and we're like, yep, there it is. We trademarked it, and yeah, I get myself in trouble because sometimes accidentally on text, I say we're spreading legs across the U.S. and people say, "Whoa, whoa!" I think you need to relook at that text and never say that again. I'm like, oh, actually, I like it. Like we're not PC. For example, we have a ambassador program called Balls Brothers Advocating for Legs Ladies, and I think you've probably experienced it on Instagram. You see a lot of these golf influencers, and there might, they're beautiful, but legs doesn't really attract a ton of male followers. But I think that humor is is the best way to get people to listen and the best way to just kind of stand tall in any of that.
Yeah, they say with content, if you want to hook somebody, make it educational or make it entertaining. And it's pretty
Yep.
clear you guys really hammered the entertaining part. Um,
Well, our philosophy is that professional women or being professional and having fun don't need to be mutually exclusive, that women are so dynamic. They might have children, they might have a husband, career, all the to-do lists. And so we wanted it to be just a one-stop shop where if you had a rough day and you need some stress relief, go smash balls, not walls. Like if you're really looking to build your network and looking for clients, then you've got this community of ambitious women that you could potentially do business with. Or if you're new to Jacksonville and need to find friends, then great way to meet other women that are like-minded and also want to get outside and golf.
yeah, listen, I think that's wonderful. I'm kind of curious. I want you to kind of to speak to any women that might be listening to this who have never ever picked up a golf club and work from home, so they don't get the opportunity to network the way that they want. But let's just say somehow this episode crosses their path and they hear it. What would you say to that woman who's has no experience with golf, has really no networking? I don't want to say experience, but they work from home. They don't have the opportunity to shake hands the way that they could on the course. You
Yeah.
know, what why should they go to a legs event? Why is this the home for them? And what are you telling people that may not have any experience with golf, whatsoever, to get them out and get them participating?
I can relate with all of that. Even though I did start golfing in high school because I'm 5'4", and it was either, JV volleyball or varsity golf, but I can relate both working from home. I work from home and I feel like I need to give myself like a social prescription, and so the legs events always leave you with a buzz. And then but when you start going in, I mean, like, my experience was when I wanted to pick up kiteboarding in Jacksonville, and nobody wanted to be there with me to teach me, and the equipment is expensive and kind of dangerous. And so I feel that must be the way that women feel. They don't know which equipment to buy, they don't want to look stupid, but I would encourage them. Like, legs is a good spot for ground zero. Like, we get tons of women that are beginner, never touch the club, and they're going to get the fast track. Like, you don't need to go to a lesson and then come to legs. Just come to legs because you'll be around women that are like, I think you know this, you're a golfer. I've been golfing 20 years and I learned so much each year. It's not like other thing. It's kind of like an analogy for life where you're never going to perfect it and you're constantly learning and evolving. It's the same thing even for pro golfers. They might have their irons dialed and then their putting drops off. And so I think you just have to have the courage to show up, and then I guarantee you'll have moments where you'll surprise yourself and you're probably better than you think. But it's like anything. Like, if I were to pick up pottery tomorrow, I wouldn't be an expert. You kind of have to give yourself grace and know that if you're on the journey to mastery, you're gonna look terrible like in the beginning, but nobody's looking at you because they're feeling exactly what you're feeling. Like, I think women feel that there's a microscope on them, but in reality, I mean, I've played thousands of rounds of golf and I can't remember what anybody scored or their bad shots, but I remember the company and the way I felt after the round. So I
Yeah.
encourage women to get out there, just be humble and honest and say, hey, I'm new to the game. If you see anything that I'm doing wrong, let me know and be open to that. And if you need to tee it up in the fairway at 150 out just to kind of equalize it, like, for example, I just tore my ACL, and well, I'm getting back. So last night was on the simulator and I played from the par 3 level where my husband played from, the normal level. And I ended up shooting a 69 and he shot a 70. So, like, do whatever it takes. Like, if you need to pick up your ball and throw it or, just like quit the hole, it's totally fine. Like, as long as you're out there, um, you'll learn along the way, but you don't need a PhD in golf before getting out there. There are plenty of people that uh, are probably worse than you, and they're out there and enjoying it. So don't be afraid.
Yeah, that brings like two immediate thoughts to mind that I've heard countless times. One of them is don't be afraid, or what is it? Have the courage to suck at something new. I
Yes.
always thought that that was an interesting thing. And
Yeah.
then the other one was there are people that are dumber than you that are doing more than you simply because they're taking action.
Yeah.
So to your point, just show up. Who knows?
Yeah.
I am curious though, because I'm sure that other people are curious too. Now that we've convinced them to go, like, hey, we've encouraged you to show up. What can they expect while they're there? Like, what kind of networking is it? What kind of golf is it? If they were to show up at 5 o'clock for a 5 to 7 event, what
Mhm.
can they expect in those 2 hours of being on site?
Yeah, we used to alternate between a lesson and the 9-hole scramble, but some of the women would say, I'll wait till next month because I'm not good enough. So we now do both. So if you are, looking to get out and play, we do the 9-hole scramble, tea time starting at 5. And we we really strive to not be cliquey, where, you're going to be golfing with different women all the time. I think women have a natural tendency to want to give back. And so some of these women that were collegiate golfers, they're there because they're not, really focused on lowering their handicap and playing competitively. They're there because they have the empathy of what these women are going through. And so they're getting that on course learning because, you're all hitting from the trap and they're giving advice on what they're hitting and anything they've learned. So there's a lot of knowledge share that kind of happens organically. And then the lessons, we try and make it, I don't know, I have ADD. So a lot of times we split women up from beginner to intermediate, and then it might be chipping and then putting, but you get all aspects of the game. And then, like, the thing that makes my heart sing is seeing the amazing progression in Jacksonville. That when they say, hey, I'm going to actually go out and play this time, like, you go, girl. Or, hey, I did my first golf trip, or really integrating golf into their life. So, then where the magic happens is the 19th green. So after all of that, we get together for drinks or food or whatever, and we like to build a platform so women have the opportunity to share vulnerably what the women in the community can do to support them. So whether it's they're looking for commercial office space or a new assistant or a sugar daddy, that the ladies there can really know what will help them be successful. And yeah, so I think that's like the kind of main differentiator, is that platform for support and community. The golf is just like,
That's so awesome.
golf is where we do it. And yeah, being better at golf is not our mission, but it's a side effect. So
Yeah. What about how often are you guys doing this? I assume if it's weekly or bi-weekly or and then I guess that's
yeah, Jack.
the other question I would have is, oh, I was just going to say, what course are you guys doing it at too? Or are you guys partnered with multiple courses?
Yeah, we've been very fortunate. We do rotate a little bit. So St. John's, there was a lot of women in St. John's County that wanted a course that was closer. So Coach Mo is our amazing female pro that has been wonderful. And we've actually added on some weekend clinics. So you can find an event, kind of our traditional events are on Wednesday, either at Queens Harbor, Blue Sky, or St. John's. And we've been at Deer Creek. We've been at the yards as well. But really, we're looking for a course that aligns with our vision. And, we're trying to make golf affordable and accessible for women who may, not know how expensive golf is or be able to afford it. We actually just launched a financial assistance program. So we don't want women to miss out on the opportunities just in case they, are in a financial position that makes it difficult for them to pay for these events or pay for membership. But yeah, then also on the weekends, so some Saturday clinics that are either a 2-hour clinic or a 1-hour clinic, but Typically, it's the first and third Wednesday. I could be wrong. We might have changed it to the second and fourth Wednesday. But if ladies go to legs.golf and subscribe to Jacksonville, they'll be able to get invites for all future events.
Awesome. You brought up a good point about the financing and whatnot. What is it, for somebody who wants to take part, be a
Mhm.
member, or show up to some of these events? What is the financial commitment on their end?
Typically, anywhere between 50 and 75. So if you're a member, it's cheaper, usually around 50, and our membership is, I think, very affordable. It's 125 right now. And I think what the ladies like about the membership is just the members chat, So if somebody's like, "Hey, I need clubs," or "Who wants to play on Friday? I've got a tea time." But yeah, that's why the course relationships are so important, is just making sure that we can provide the most value without women saying no. That's expensive, but I do feel that we give women a lot. For $50, you can typically get golf, maybe a drink ticket or two, some hors d'oeuvres, just depending on the place where, and then all the networking that happens. So yeah, I think for the women that want to try something new or just like to be outside, I personally go crazy, working inside all day, that just being outside just is really powerful for me.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I'm actually the same way. I'm curious, the 125, is that monthly or is that annually?
Annually. So
Oh, that's cheap. It's like
I
$10 a
know,
month.
I know.
That's super cheap.
Most of the other chapters are at 200. So, eventually we're going to need to align with the other chapters. But I love
Even that,
Jacksonville.
though.
And yeah.
Yeah, well, even that, $200 a year, that's not even $20 a month. And you can't just open, like, speaking candidly, if you're in a room, like, you get done playing golf, you've had a glass of wine, the vibes are great, they're immaculate, everybody's smiling and in a good mood. And then you're in a room of people and you go, I need this. And now you got a group of people saying, I got you. That's worth $10 a month. I could, so that that's
Right?
that's such a good value. Even if it's like, I need a new client, or I need a new job, or I need a new couch. I don't know. I just think if there's something in your life that you can just openly say out loud to a group of people, and they're in a non-corporate environment, to like mentally picture, like, hey, I really want to help these people. They're a part of my community.
Hmm.
Holy crap, man. Like, you've done something really cool here, Jillian. I thought the golf part was cool, but the rest of this is really cool.
Oh, well, yeah, and I do want women, if you're listening and, maybe you're not in the corporate world, you're a rock star stay-at-home mom. I don't want them to see executive and say, "Oh, I'm not a C-suite executive. That's not me." Really, I think everybody has a gift and something to offer, and so we really are inclusive in nature. So I don't want that to be uh, prohibitive to women that are rock star, stay-at-home moms, because I think they have a lot to offer as well, and receive. They need a night out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and maybe what they need is new wine recommendations or something. Who knows? I think just the fact that you can openly tell people what's on your mind and kind of get solutions is unbelievable. I am curious about how you finance all of this.
Yeah.
If it's 120 a year, and the events, let's say it's $50 and you're saying it might cover a drink ticket or two, 9 holes, hors d'oeuvres. How are you how are you making
Yeah.
that happen?
Yeah, you're gonna make, yeah, I sound like a terrible businesswoman, but I don't know, it's just in my heart to like want to give it away. So majority of, our revenue comes from membership, and about, 25% events. Used to be, before kind of inflation hit us hard, events used to be, more profitable, but not so much anymore. And then we have some amazing corporate partners, locally in Jacksonville, that get free events, for them and their team or their prospective clients, and some social media recognition. Some of our best ones in Jacksonville: Modern Aesthetic Centers, Emil Wilson with Wilson Dutra Law, Regions Bank, among others. We've had a lot of great partners. So that helps us, keep the mission going. I will say, like if you're trying to get rich, like doing something like legs is not what I would recommend. But for me, it's always been passion driven and impact driven. Taking a year's worth of salary and my savings, I realized I'm like, what else would I spend my money on? I really want to provide this and see it grow. But yeah, I think last year we brought in 500,000 in revenue. So we're growing. Each year we kind of double in size and revenue. But yeah, if there's business owners on here that are like cringing, then definitely hit me up. I'm sure there's tons of lessons I can learn more.
I don't know that's going to be the case. I think it's better to give it away and make things more accessible. And we'll talk about this part of it in a second. Whatever you're doing is working because you just took something that was localized in Jacksonville and did it 20 times over. So
Well,
we're gonna give
it's not
I was gonna say
me,
we're gonna give some praise.
Yeah, no, I really want to shout out all the amazing chapter presidents, because they're also boots on the ground and doing the labor of love. And if it weren't for our amazing members, the collective, like each individual woman that makes up legs, like it wouldn't be possible if it weren't for them. So I'm
Yep.
I'm just
All
kind
right.
of the crazy idea lady working behind the scenes, but I think a lot of just the women that are part of legs should be appreciated.
Yeah. Shout out to them. I do want to know, this might be a me thing, maybe the listeners care. How did you say, like, okay, I'm in Jacksonville and I want to expand? What was that process? What was that step? What was the city you identified? And why did you think it was a good move at the time to open up a second chapter?
So all of our growth has been kind of word of mouth and organic. So Sarah Brogley was in Boca was the first chapter to launch, and poor thing, had to deal with all the challenges. And then Tampa, Orlando, Fort Myers, and Miami were shortly after that. So it is kind of fun to see what we had in place then versus what we have in place now. But I think any entrepreneur knows, like, you can't perfect it and then launch. Like, you just have to like go for it and then fine tune it. But yeah, that's kind of the way it's growing now, is that majority of the time women reach out, either on LinkedIn or Instagram or email saying, hey, we don't have a chapter here in Philadelphia. Like, what would it take to get it started? And making sure it's the right fit. You want somebody that is, service driven, typically in business development. So it's really integrated into their life and not like just a passion project. And then as long as we get the course and the dates and the budget, then we're off and running.
Yeah. So is it like, let's say we'll take Philadelphia and somebody reaches out to you and says, we don't have a chapter. We'd like to start one. What is the first course of action? I guess course, pun intended. What's the first course of action for them? Like, do they start making phone calls to golf courses and trying to elicit partnerships? Do they try to get the word out and try to like get membership numbers up before they go and try to engage with corporate partners and golf partners and stuff like that? Like, what's that process like?
Yeah, we changed some things because I do think that the community of chapter leaders is really tight knit, and so actually they are a part of the interview process. So they interview, can be mutually gathering information, what it's like on the other side. And then we kind of work hand in hand finding the course and getting that going, but it also is kind of our indicator of how serious they are about it. Like if they're like, I want to start a chapter, and then nothing happens, for 6 months, then we won't do anything, to like invest in them as far as the marketing materials and swag. So we kind of work like I've seen it all across the board. Typically, the hardest thing is finding a course that aligns, and that doesn't ghost us. But then I've also had times where, you make that first call and they're all for it, or the courses are reaching out to us saying, "Hey, we want to do legs here." So that's the long-term vision, is just having, big network of golf courses that see the value we provide because we typically bring in, 10 to 60 grand in revenue a year. So it's a good mutual partnership, but you have to not just talk the talk, but also, where like they might say, yes, we want to grow the sport for women, but then you can sense that they don't really mean it. And women can sense as soon as they're on the course if they feel welcome or not. So that's a huge part of it.
Yeah. Okay. That seems fair. How can men
Yeah.
support?
Well, I'm glad you asked. So we do have a man ambassador program. If you go to legs.golf and support us, become a man ambassador. And so what that entails is just promoting, if you know any women that would be a great fit for legs, just telling them about legs. We have, incentives if you refer, X amount of members. We've got some nice polos. We got some balls hats. But yeah, there is a Ambassador event in Jacksonville, May 14th, in celebration of our 7-year anniversary. So they are able to come to those where we have sprinkled in Ambassador plus legs events.
Okay. Very cool.
Yeah.
I'll make sure that that's in the show notes, the Man Ambassador program at legs.golf, and then May 14th.
Yes. And yeah, because I do feel, my boss was a great mentor, my dad, and I don't want anybody to get the impression that we're, that type of feminist that's like women rock and men don't. Like
And dudes suck. Yeah.
right, yeah, no, we love men, we love our ambassadors, and we feel that male allyship can really move the needle, if men are a part of the conversation and if they are in a position to promote or support, then I think that's what we're going for, is just unity, really. Doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman, but like, hey, let's all stand behind this, that the world will be a better place if women are empowered.
Yep. I'm with you. I would love nothing more than to help get the word out and see if we can get a tribe of men to become. I just love the word man ambassador. That's so great. And then the balls acronym is
Yeah,
fantastic.
we've had some fun with it. Yeah, it's been a fun journey, like anything, highs and lows, but just grateful that this crazy idea, well, it's not that crazy of an idea, but that this idea is now my life purpose and mission. That
Yep.
feels good.
My favorite thing about all of this is that so many people have these ideas. They have these like brainchild type situations and they stay in the idea phase. Sometimes you were talking about earlier making something, putting it out there and then refining it. I read something a long time ago that led me to launch the podcast, which was just make it exist first and then you can make it good later.
Mm-hmm.
For anybody who's thinking about taking a leap of faith, what would you say to them? And I guess let me add a second portion to this. If they were trying to do something in some way similar to what you're doing, trying to build community, what kind of tips would you give them? What kind of advice would you give them as they're trying to put this together from the idea phase and then implement and take the leap of faith as well?
I think probably the three things. Number one, just giving yourself like a deadline, so when I had the idea, I was like, I'm going to do this before the end of the year, and I was like, well, why not do it in May? So then you can check it off, so I think giving yourself a deadline, accountability, just having somebody, that's like counting on you to do it, which can be the scary part. And then the third is knowing that failure is not failure. I think I learned a lesson before I moved to Jacksonville. I was living in Guatemala working at a cooking school, and the gal was an investment banker from Spain and just kind of miserable in her job. And she just kind of thought, what could I do every day for the rest of my life and be happy? And it was cooking. When I started there, it was kind of on the tail end, we were selling whatever we could just to get money in. But she's like, hey, at least I spent the last 2 years of my life doing what I love, and I learned so much from it. So not thinking like if it doesn't work, I'm going to be a failure. You're going to learn so much, and don't be afraid to put the idea out there, but have a little fire under your tail with a deadline and somebody counting on you. Otherwise, yeah, it's easy to just like brush it under the rug and say next year. Every day, every year you don't do it, you're missing out on that year of like perfecting and growing it. So I'm a little psychotic and I'm like a full send girl, even when I shouldn't be, like off of cliffs on my skis or jumps on my bike. I found out this weekend gambling. I wasn't gambling, but was playing craps. I was like, I should not gamble because I'm throwing down 500s when I should be throwing down five. So, um, I think just like living every day like it's your last, where you only get one life, and so you get to design it and make it how you want, and even if it doesn't work out, at least you tried.
Yeah. I think that's incredible advice. Let's say that sticks. Somebody says, "Man, what Jillian said's got me motivated. I'm going to go take a leap of faith." So much of what you've done has been you were in insurance, so you weren't really your skill set wasn't like collecting membership fees and marketing and corporate partnerships, and so like you've had to learn that over the course of time. So for somebody that may have to kind of learn some new skills and whatnot, and anybody trying to fundraise and deal with corporate partnerships is a big deal, and I know that that's a nervous endeavor. What would you say to that? What would what direction would you point them in, and what kind of actionable steps would you tell them to take?
Surround yourself with smart people, brilliant people. I mean, I could write a book on like what not to do and mistakes, but I think capitalizing, and not being afraid even to reach out to somebody on LinkedIn to say, "Hey, I'd love to pick your brain." That's been a big change, being in Jacksonville, really integrated in the community, knowing who's good at what, and then coming to Salt Lake and not knowing anybody and having to figure out and build that a network again. So and my boss gave the advice where focus on your true gift and talent. Like, I'm not the spreadsheet gal, I'm not the systems and operations gal, but I love people, and so I do think that like the essence of legs is what I was put on the planet to do, but then you gotta outsource and find people that are good at the things. I don't know. There's so much time in the day. You just have to love it, where you're okay watching a YouTube video on memberships or whatever. And then also like if you're really not good at it, find somebody who is and learn from them.
Yeah, if it's a woman, my advice would be go to a legs event and then tell somebody what you want to do.
For sure.
For the men that are listening, send your sister or your wife to a legs event and have them ask the questions for you.
Yeah.
That's no, that's really good advice. I know you have the May 14th event coming up. Is there any other big things, big changes, anything future state that anybody should be looking out for legs, whether that's in Jacksonville or nationally?
Ooh, well, here, might as well put it out there. My pipe dream is to do a legs leadership summit. Like once we do that legs leadership summit, like 1 day conference, motivational speakers, 1 day golf, I'll feel like we have made it. It's just like a scary step with the investment, but my goal is 2026. I don't know if that's relevant, but yeah, Jacksonville has anywhere between 2 to 4 events a month, and not off the top of my mind. But the nice thing is, if you become a member and Jackson, your membership is good anywhere. So if you're traveling, to Dallas and you're there for an event, that you can get member pricing there, and yeah, it's a really beautiful community.
Awesome. I didn't even think about that. So if you're traveling to a city that has it, you can attend an event and or tell the golf course you're a member and then play at that price.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's wonderful. Okay.
yeah, because we'd get that a lot, and so we made it so all events member pricing is the same no matter where you are, and because I think a lot of women do travel, and how cool, because of course, I try and make it so you get the same experience no matter where you are, but there are different, obviously Fort Lauderdale is going to be way different than Salt Lake, or Sarasota is going to be even different than Jacksonville. We're launching Atlanta and Kansas City in April. So if you know anybody in Atlanta and Kansas City, April
I
22nd
do.
and April 23rd, those are the kickoff dates. So that's the hardest part, is getting the word out there when you first launch a chapter. the nice thing, women talk and share their experiences. So usually after a year, it just kind of, you don't have to do as much work bludgeoning people on LinkedIn or reaching out, where women tell their friends and bring their friends. So that's what we have in the works.
That's awesome. I will make sure that all of that is in the show notes so that people are aware. I do know people in
Thank
Kansas City and Atlanta, so I'll let them know. I'll put you in touch. Yeah. I know that we've touched on almost probably most of everything regarding legs, but is there anything we've missed out on regarding you or the entrepreneurial journey or any other nice tidbits of advice that you have for anybody out there?
Ooh, that's tough. You know, I think last year experienced like it's not always just awesome, you know, but that's kind of what you see just like from Instagram is just like the highlight reel. And yeah, I think you just have to have a little bit of perseverance, optimism, and yeah, go with your gut. Like if you think, hey, I got this idea, I really want to go for it, you may, my recommendation is just do it on the side, you know? Like I know a lot of businesses where, 9 to 5, they're doing their job, and then, 6 to 10, they're doing their passion project. And then you kind of just wait for it to build. Obviously it wasn't where my salary was, but figured I can live off of ramen and cut whatever expenses I need to. But usually, the money comes when you need it. Like as long as you're open, and yeah, that's all it is just taking risks and knowing that the risks are worthwhile.
Yep. Okay. I think that's wonderful. Couple of questions, golf related. Number one, what's your favorite golf course in Jacksonville?
Ooh, favorite. Well, obviously, Sawgrass. I do think that
Sawgrass is great.
Valley, it's kind of underrated. It's like when I caddied there, I could play there for $5, and I'm like, this is just as good as Stadium, but you're playing a 4-hour round instead of a 6-hour round.
Let's
I
take the
think,
cheat code out. None of the no Sawgrass. What else?
mm,
Like maybe a course that it could be a course that maybe more people don't know about, but just we'll call it a daily course. What would be your favorite?
Jack's Beach for sure. Yeah, it's a shorter course, and I could almost like ride my bike there, but not with a golf club. So that was always my Friday afternoon. Yeah, I think Jack's Beach. But if you do come to Utah, there are amazing courses like Wolf Creek, Sand Hollow, Black Desert is cool. Or come visit me and I'll take you to Willow Creek or some of the local courses. And you'll hit it way farther because of altitude.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised. Think you can correct me. Did you meet your husband in Scottsdale?
I did. Yeah, I was golfing with
Yeah.
my dad, and our fourth backed out. So my dad's friend from high school called Sam, my husband, to fill in. And I see this guy, and I'm like, who's this character? But I was not interested in dating at all. And he asked me out on the date on the 16th hole. I said, no, I've got a date with my grandparents, and I fly out tomorrow. And he was there taking care of his mom who had breast cancer surgery. And so we his mom's appointment was 4 minutes away from my grandparents, so he had coffee the next morning and was very like, pursued hard. So eventually convinced me to extend my trip and go on a date with him, and rest is history. But
That's
I do
I
think
didn't know all of that.
my dad fell in love with him first. The first hole, I think he hit it 367 yards because my dad pulled up next to it and he was like drooling. He's like, "You just hit it 367 yards." I'm like, "Dad, keep it in your pants." So they've got a great relationship, which is cool. But yeah, I think my entire wedding, all the speeches were about Sam and my dad.
It's fair. That's what I was gonna say about Scottsdale is like I went out there and I hit driver and it went like 30 yards further than it does here in Florida. And I'm like, maybe I need to move here alone just for my ego. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Imagine me the opposite, coming from Colorado to Jacksonville where I was hitting a mic. Am I just like weak or what's going on? And then it took me a while to realize I'm like, oh, you're at sea level.
yeah. And you got heavy air. You got this humidity to deal with.
Brutal. But
Yeah,
but yeah, but that's why all the pros and the, good high school golfers come from Florida, not
that is
Wyoming.
true. That is true. Well,
What's your
I
favorite
think
course?
that's a good question. Stillwater for sure. I don't know if you had a chance to play that while you were here.
Oh, no. Is it? I didn't know it was
Okay,
awesome.
Stillwater is so awesome. It's do not say this lightly. I'm not a hyperbole guy, but if that course is maintained by the same people that maintain Sawgrass, it wouldn't surprise me at all. It is beautiful. It's interesting too because Stillwater's in like a 55 and up community, and I mean the course is like tucked back there too. So they
Yeah.
currently like they could charge 250 around and get away with it, but right now they're still trying to like drum up all the interest. So they still like there's days you can get on for like $70, and I mean that's a
Mm,
steal.
yeah.
But Stillwater's my favorite. For the longest time, back when they really, really took care of it, I loved Cimarron. I was always a big fan of the way the course was put together. Um,
Yeah.
I love Jack's Beach as well. I like Queens Harbor a lot. I think
Mm,
the unfortunate thing about Jacksonville is like some of these courses that used to be staples, like Hidden Hills, don't take care of the course like they used to, and so
mm.
things change. But the World Golf Village courses, so like Slammer and Squire, King and Bear, those are wonderful courses. But if I had to pick one, you're like, Randall, you got to play one, and it can't be Sawgrass. I'm going to play Stillwater.
Ooh, I guess I gotta make a trip to Jack's now that my knee's almost there and check it out. Because is that a Hampton golf course or no? I think it is.
That I don't know. I'd have to
Mm.
look. I'm happy to
Yeah,
look. We can
I
do some
think when I
research
was
after the show.
yeah, when I was there, it was just like a trailer. So I don't know if did they build the clubhouse yet?
So the last time I was at Stillwater, which was a couple of months ago, it was still a trailer.
Okay, maybe I'll wait till they build that out.
Yeah, or at least like the clubhouse was a trailer. If you're trying to do anything legs related, I would wait. If you're trying to just go out and play, go play.
Go play. Yeah.
You'll have a great time and you'll really enjoy the layout and how well it's taken care of.
Yeah, I kind of Black Desert was just a trailer and now it's like this big resort and when I played it was 200, now it's like 500 around. So maybe you're smart getting yeah, I know, right? Getting
Gross.
in. I know, getting in while the yeah, $70 is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. Yeah, before we go, I do want to point this out 'cause you're talking about pricing.
Mm,
And to me, COVID, I'll die on this hill and I'll scream it forever. COVID was the best thing to happen to golf and the
hmm.
worst thing to happen to people who play golf.
Yeah.
Now these courses, like they're so tight packed. The tee times, like the tee sheets, are wall to wall. It's 5 hours minimum to play 18 holes. It's doubled and tripled in price. The accessibility is out the window.
Mhm.
And so the biggest compliment I can pay you and why this has been so great is you have brought affordability and accessibility to a game that has rapidly deteriorated on both fronts. So great work.
Aw.
Congratulations.
Oh, you're so spot on though. You're so spot on. Yeah, it does impact our leverage, where they're like, we've got a wait list on membership. We got, our tea times are full, but not always. But yeah, I feel you, man. I just want to get out and play when I want to play.
Yeah, I also don't want to be on the course for 6 hours. Like I love being outdoors like you do, but we got shit to do, right? We still got to go to the grocery store and wash our clothes and do dishes and be an adult. So I'm trying
Hmm.
to figure out a way where we can get these costs down and get the pace of play back to where
Yeah.
it needs to be. But man, it's definitely something.
Yeah, that's my only advice to women, and that was my dad's first advice when I first started playing. I think I took 7 practice swings, and he's like, "Oh no, 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 no." He's like, "You can be really, really good and slow, but you can't be bad and slow." So I don't even take a practice swing. So I tell women like, nobody's gonna judge you as long as you play fast and you're good vibes. So like, you don't need to know all the rules you'll learn on, and I just ask anybody that point something out, maybe etiquette. Just have a little bit of tact, don't like what I like to do is just say, hey, this happened to me in high school golf. I teed it up in front of the tee box and I got a two-stroke penalty. I would hate for that to happen. Or I say, you know, I'm not, but there's some cranky people out there that will get like real cranky if your shadows, are on their line. So just be mindful of your shadow, not say, blah blah. So try and be nice to beginners. They don't know the difference, and um yeah, make them want to come back.
Yeah, I'm with you. Quick story before we go, because you were just talking about the tee boxes. It was at Sawgrass. I don't know if you ever worked with a guy named Merlin, but he's a caddy there.
Yeah, the black guy.
No, no,
No,
no, no.
no.
Really old. I don't want to say really old, but
Oh yeah, yeah.
probably young 70s, skinny white dude, white hair.
Yes, love him.
And
Yes.
we were playing with oh my one of my best friend's brothers-in-law. He was not a big golfer, but he was gifted a round at TPC. I think his wife bought it for him. So we go there, and he doesn't know the rules too much, and he keeps teeing it up in front of the markers, maybe by like 4 inches, right? Like not much. We don't care. We know that he doesn't play golf or whatever, and thankfully in the foursome we didn't like nobody really gave him any crap. But
Yeah.
after like the fifth hole, Merlin went up when after his name's Anthony. After Anthony teed the ball up, Merlin started to walk up to me. He's like, "Hey, before you swing," he would move the tee markers up 5 inches so that he was finally behind him. And to me, that was the funniest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But yeah, nobody gave Anthony crap for it. But it was just, once again, if the vibes are right, the caddy was literally just trying to be funny, and it worked, and we were in the right group. But it is amazing how something so simple can be so funny.
I know. That's a way to do it. And I do like commend dudes because it is really funny, like it's just so much banter on the course, and I think that's why, like I've only been married a year and a half, but I do think that me and my husband will be married forever because we just give each other shit every day, every chance, and I think it's healthy. So
It is.
I do like golfing with dudes because it's just a lot of banter and making fun of each other. So yeah.
Well, Jillian, I cannot thank you enough. I love what you're doing. I've given you 100 compliments on this episode alone, but I'm a
Like,
big fan of the fact that you took such a massive leap, and you're, like I said, accessibility and affordability are two things that golf lacks, and the fact that you're not only doing that here for our great city, but in other areas around the country, I think is phenomenal, and I commend you for all the success you've had.
same to you, man. I just love what you're doing, and I can't wait for us to get out on the course. One quick thing, because, legs, for me, I'm like, you never, what is it? Don't underestimate, let's see here, the difference you can make. If you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. So we do a ton, like, we donate about 10% locally in Jacksonville. The first tee of North Florida is amazing. April, I want to say 23rd, they have the women's classic, and there might be a couple spots left. And so if you are a female golfer listening, check out First Tee Women's Classic. The energy is phenomenal. It's an all women's tournament, and go support them.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'll make sure that's in the show notes too.
Awesome.
That's wonderful. Thank you,
Well,
Jillian. Thanks for being here.
thank you, Randall. This was awesome, and
It was.
love what you're doing as well.
Thank you so much.